house with me. Good morning, and you're most welcome.
Good morning, Moji. Thanks for having me.
Yes, now let's talk about the UK, Rwanda, the new law. Briefly tell us what it entails.
Yes, it's very simple law. Yes, very controversial in the different metrics and perspective that you can look at it. But it's very simple in the essence that it says, look, if you come into our country illegally from January 1st, 2022, we are having an arrangement with the Rwandan government to take you and send you to Rwanda instead of you just coming to litter our system, interrupt our ecosystem or our echo chamber. We are going to file all of you and send you to Rwanda by air, and then they will process you from Rwanda. And the law is legitimizing the act. Why? Because the British people are very soft-minded individuals, whereby they see it as, okay, these people ran from danger, they left precarious countries, they left uncertainty, they left a bad life, they went through very precarious journey to come into UK. And so please don't send them back. That's the mindset of the average British person. You know, they are soft-minded, and the immigrants are exploiting that weakness, knowing that these people are soft-minded. Once we show up at their border, once we show up at their seaports and all of that, they're going to welcome us with open embrace. And so this law is to give power to the government of the day to apprehend these people and send them to a prearranged arrangement with Rwanda, to keep them there and process them there. And that's essentially what the law is all about.
Now, you talked about processing the other time.
Yes.
When processed, will they be returned to UK, or they'll still stay there in Rwanda?
For a long time, the British government has kept silent until their Prime Minister spoke out recently that, look, if this is going to serve the purpose for which it was intended, which was deterrent, to deter people from that continuous escapade and voyage, we must not introduce the possibility of returning these people to England. Meaning that once you show up illegally, we package you like a product, we send you to Rwanda, there is no possibility of you returning to the United Kingdom. However, the Rwandan government had brought up a comprehensive plan that whoever behaves himself, whoever is compatible with their system, can legitimize his or her stay in Rwanda. They can have long visas or residency visas or permanent visas. So there's such a thing, a cloud of hope on them to naturalize in the Rwandan system, but never a possibility of anybody that is processed in Rwanda to return to the UK. That is not on the table.
So if that be the case, how will it impact migration and asylum policies between UK and other countries?
Okay, so that has two dimensions, and that question is deep. If I want to quickly dimension it, I think before now we've always had the feeling that the United Nations and the United Kingdom, they speak in the same voice. They don't run discordant voices because of their human rights principles. If the United Nations wants something, you discover many times the United Kingdom wants the same thing. They are like the same thing, even though one is a country and one is an organization. So what happened is, for the first time, the United Nations is saying that, look, when people take a long, precarious journey to our country, or to any country for that matter, the asylum-seeking provisions embedded in the United Nations Acts and laws and the United Kingdom Acts and laws is that you find a place of respite for them, you find a place of comfort for them But right now that the upper and the lower chamber of the British Parliament has decided to send them back, there has been a lot of concern, especially in the United Nations, especially in Italy and other nations. They are coming to say that what the United Kingdom has done is pretty hostile and is against the fundamentals that essentially describes the beauty of human rights, meaning that we should have empathy, we should have sympathy, and we should be our brother's keeper. We should be accommodating and hospitable to anyone who could take the risk of, traveling down the precarious journey. For example, most of these people that showed up in England or in the United Kingdom, they are people that just went on what is called Genchi, or a boat, a small boat. Mm-hmm. Many of them with their families, many of them with young kids. They just come on this boat from France, and then they run into England. It's usually dangerous, and many times we have the case of casualties and people getting drowned in what is called the English Channel. Yeah. It's very laborious, it's very dangerous, and because of this, the ideation is that anybody that can go through this tumultuous journey should be given space, should be welcomed. But then, the British system realized that it's not helping them. For example, in 2022, they had over 50,000 people showing up at their borders, 50,000 illegal immigrants coming into their countries. These are people they could not plan for. These are the people that has different culture, they have different expectations, they have different lifestyle. Many of them are dependent. Some of them are even in their 60s, coming from Syria, coming from Iraq, coming from Iran, coming from Lebanon, finding their way into France, and from France, they just take that journey. And before you know it, they're in England. And so the demographics of England is changing. And so I personally want to lend voice to the courageous effort by Rishi Sunak, because ultimately your country belongs to you, and the decision about what happens in your country largely depends on you. And so to take the bull by the horn and say, look, we are sending you guys out, I think is already working as a deterrent. But
to some, it is a violation of human rights. Even European court said it. So what is when you said...
It's always interesting when there is a conflict between people who are supposed to have the same ideation, the same intellection as far as matters are concerned. You see, when the parliament is a body of government that make law and regulate laws and to a great extent supervise the implementation of laws. And so in a situation where you see World Court or other asylum agencies coming out to say this is wrong, then it brings out a deeper sense of things in terms of the fact that the law is made for man, not man for the law. The British people understand what suits their system. They understand what works for them. And I tell you, they are already reaping the rewards. Why? Because they are already taming or steaming the influx of people coming in. It has started reducing just for the fact that the law has been passed. People have decided to stop coming. And so if the international communities and every other country that disagree with them begin to see that it's working, and as far as there is no physical abuse to these people, ultimately, one of the essentialities of government, one of the duties of government is to protect its borders. And any country with a porous border is not categorically in that standpoint of being called a country. So if a situation comes and you have 50,000 unprocessed people showing up at your border and you have nothing to do against it because of human rights, what happens if you have 500,000 people? What happens if you have 5 million people?
But let's take a look at this. Would you say Rwanda is a land of safety or of fear? Don't forget, it has poor records of human rights violation. Besides, Rwanda is facing serious challenges economically and in several other areas too.
Talking about Rwanda is like talking about a completely different symposium topic in terms of the fact that you are bringing people into Rwanda. Rwandans are saying, look, we are here, we are citizens, natural citizens. we don't have work. We are very educated, we are highly educated, we have no industries, we have no place to get ourselves engaged for daily bread. And now we are bringing people into our country to depend on the same economy. I understand that the British government is largely and vastly sponsoring the scheme. They are doling out a whole lot of hundreds of millions of dollars into it. But the situation is, Rwanda as a country has been a country notable, reputable for serious violations of human rights. So what I'm thinking could happen ultimately is the fact that there will be spotlight on Rwanda as a country going forward. And so if there are continuous, is either they stop extreme case of human violation, because if they continue in that way, the spotlight is already on them and it will gain global stage attention. Legacy medias will come on it and say, look at Rwanda that we send people to, look at what is happening. Unlike the things they will do and these things will be covered, that's not going to be the case going forward. Why? Because now the world is staging a spotlight on Rwanda. So I think Rwanda will sit up. That's the way I see it. Why? Because once they don't, the funding will stop. And once this funding stops, there will be serious issues with Rwanda, because by that time, they will not know what to do with these people. Because I've been studying the case of Rwanda bill, and I'm seeing the proper execution that when these people get to Rwanda, obviously there's no work. Mm-hmm. They will go into the street, and before you know it, they will engage in things that will lead them to prisons. And so while some people are saying that the hostel where they are kept in Kigali is actually a prison, you discover that these people will move out of the prison hostel into proper hostel, because when there's no engagement, when there's no proper feeding, when there's no proper accommodation, you know, a restless hand becomes restive, and the end is history.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on a short break now. When we come back, we'll talk about the benefits and challenges of Rwanda bill. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching International Desk live from our studios in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, and I still have with me AKINTOYE. Now, let's talk about the benefits and challenges of this Rwanda bill. The UK government will be spending £540 million to deport first 300 migrants. That will be in the next 10-12 weeks thereabouts. The economy of UK is not that stable. So why is it spending so much on migrants, asylum seekers?
All right, so I think it's a proactive step that the UK government is taking. They understand that their economy is plummeting. They understand that they need that money to actually sustain their economy. But they've also realized, thinking and planning long term, if they don't act now proactively, things will get worse for them. There's a figure that I saw that about 1.2 million pounds or dollars will be expended on a single illegal immigrant exported to Rwanda. What I have seen, I was watching an interview, a man that came in illegally into Britain was already processing the visa for his wife and 4 children, meaning that while he is a dependent, depending on the porous, plummeting economy of the United Kingdom, is still longing for bringing the family. And so ultimately the wife said, look, if you are going to Rwanda, forget about it, that's the last time we are going to see. And that's deterrent. That's the essence of deterrence. And that's the essence of the huge amount of money spent. It's not for now, it's for the future. And so if there is anybody packing his bag to invade the borders of United Kingdom, they're going to have a change of mind. Because in no way is Rwanda looking like United Kingdom in terms of social amenities, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of aesthetics, in terms of healthcare, in terms of anything. Even though they are having serious economic challenges, but there's no way that Kigali and United Kingdom will look alike in any way. So once you know that if I take this dangerous journey, it will end up in Rwanda, you will sit up. And so that is for that. Now, what are the benefits for Rwanda? For me, East Africa will begin to enjoy influx of migrants that could change the demographics of East Africa. There's a way we perceive when we have a diverse culture, you know, just like what we have in South Africa, what you have in Jos. It can gig the economy of Kigali, for example. So I think that's going to be beneficial for Rwanda. And you and I know that in no way will Rwanda actually spend 1.2 million on anybody at any time. So if they are not going to embezzle the money, I think it's the money that they can put into the economy to create industries where these migrants can put their hands to work. Because immigration actually is not totally a bad thing. America was built on the backs of slaves and immigrants. And so if Rwanda is proactive, if they have big picture thinkers, if they have reflective thinkers, those who can turn things around, they can just harness the influx of immigrants. For example, if you have between the ages of 16 and 45 coming en masse into your nation, backed up with serious funding, all you need to do is open up piggeries, poultries, and stuffs like that, industrialized farming, bring in people, train them, and before you know it, something that was meant for evil can turn out for good. Mm-hmm. And so I want us to see that part of it. If the mindset of the president of Uganda is large enough to understand that this is a lifetime opportunity, because $500 million, I remember there was a time that Nigeria went to request for $500 million loan. Now somebody is forcing that your throat. If you know what to do with it, you are good, home and dry.
Exactly. Now, I want us to look at the freedom of the illegal migrants that will be exported to Rwanda, because the UK said there is likelihood that they will fit asylum seekers with electronic tags. What does that imply? Okay,
it simply means that there will be geotagging. They're going to be microchipped. Some of them could even have extreme militia training in terms of terrorism and all of that. And so if they coming into a country and they are not able to tame them, they are not able to monitor them, they will not be able to measure their progress. And so if they decide, like what happened in Afghanistan, to turn against the host country, it will be something that a technologically backward nation like Rwanda will not be able to tackle. And so one of the things that the United Kingdom government has provided is to assure them that no where they are, we will microchip them. With a microchip, nobody can escape.
Now, politically, will it be a win for Sunak in the next election? Do you think so?
It has two dimensions. The House of Lords, both the lower and the upper, they are rooting for him, even though they've done a lot of ping-pongs back and forth. But because Sunak understands that they are the people that matters in terms of weight, in terms of the true stakeholders of England, these are the people. So he has to dance to their tune. Don't forget, Sunak himself is a product of illegal immigration, you know, and so it's going to be difficult for him innately. It's going to be difficult for him introspectively. It's going to be difficult for him intellectually to process them out. But he understands he has to do that to stay politically relevant. However, the large majority of the people, if it gets to the polls and the citizens are to determine what happens to Sunak because of what he has done, contingent upon this established bill, the demographics of England has changed. England now has such a large number of illegal immigrants that have been processed, that have been registered, that have been normalized. Many of them are permanent residents of the United Kingdom. Many of them are citizens. Many of them have been born of illegal immigrants But by certain laws that says that once you are born in England, you become a Briton, they are now British citizens. And so their numbers demographically will determine what happens in elections when it goes to the floor of election. So that could spell doom, depending on the volume of this set of people. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. If the number of people who supports Sunak, saying that our culture is being eroded, you know, there's too much influx of people that doesn't look like us, that doesn't share our values, that doesn't respect our culture. There's too much influx of these people. If that is the perception of the people, that these people are too much, we don't like it, they will support what Sunak has done, regardless of the debates. But if they themselves are product of this illegal immigration, and they are a large number, let me use the word majority, if they are the majority, Sunak is done.
Okay, now let's round off with the lessons for would-be asylum seekers and illegal migrants.
Okay, personally, I have had the privilege of traveling to countries like the United States, countries like Dubai, Qatar, and while I was in these countries, I asked myself, how do people fit into this system? I've seen Nigeria as home. I know we have our challenges, and I want to localize it to Nigerians who desperately are willing to run out of the country. I think the grass at the other side looks greener, but when you get there, you discover that it has always been a mirage, and then there's no free lunch in Freetown. And look at the dehumanizing situation as far as mental health is concerned. I packed my bag and baggage. I was on the sea for hours. There's a high chance that I might die. And I got to England, and then they packaged me like a product, and then they sent me to Rwanda. I think it's not worth it. And I want to tell anyone who is unnecessarily desperate of running to countries other than where you can strive and become great. However, I understand by the percentile of the people that migrated, they are coming from restive countries. I understand that. But for some of us in Nigeria, I think we should try and stay back and try and develop our country, believe in our country, and things will turn around for good. We don't have to become second citizens and slaves in other people's country and thereby experiencing the second wave of slavery. I think we should believe in this country, and I think if we have the right attitude, things will get better, and we'll be proud we took this decision of staying back. By the way, my father gave back to 10. I'm the only one in Nigeria, and I'm enjoying it.
That's interesting. Yeah, thank you so much. It's been an interesting moment, you know, sharing your thoughts on the UK-Rwanda bill, and I believe African leaders in particular would have a second thought to develop their countries, and other countries too, not just Africans, you know, so that there will be no need for their citizens to be seeking greener pastures. And
then we are not a dumping ground.
Exactly, exactly. Well, we have come to the end of this week's edition of International Desk. Many thanks for being a part of it. Do join us same time next week. Till then, Hadamin Mojisola Sholaja. Goodbye.